But my view is that one ex-forces on the street is too many, and if ex-forces don't have the coping mechanism, then there's a flaw in the desensitise of people when they leave what are traumatic situations.
Because it seems that in America it may not be any better, but they seem to be very aware of, for example, the figure about five US soldiers attempt suicide every day, and then the problems of danger perception of soldiers driving their cars with no lights 80 miles an hour. And, are you able to compare and contrast, the way the Americans deal with things and the British?
Yes, very much so, Michael. I mean, America, they had the track record of Vietnam, and they learned an awful lot of lessons that unfortunately, Britain, we just didn't pick up on. We, certainly the MOD, I can say it with impunity now because I'm on the other side, but the MOD denied it for a long time. I went to, as high as the Chief of the General Staff, to say there's a problem with homeless people, ex-forces and the MOD need to deal with it. And it took me 3 or 4 years to actually get that onto the political agenda. It was only after working with business in the community and getting the year of Prince Charles that we actually started getting a project on and making a difference with ex-forces homeless in central London, and then the project went nationwide.
So your hopes that over the next 5-10 years that young people, young men, young women coming out of the forces will be served better in Civvy Street?
I think it's absolutely crucial. We're sitting on a time bomb just now. We've got so many conflicts. All of the forces are overstretched. Tours are ridiculous. May sound quite old in the tooth, but tours for me, an operational tour make him around, every 3 years. Now we don't have the problems of the troubles in Ireland, but we've got Afghanistan, we've got Iraq, we've got troubles brewing all the time, and we've got understretch throughout the British forces, and tours are coming about, every 6 months. It's total overstretch, and as I say, I think we're building up a serious time bomb that's going to come to the surface unless something is done now to address the issues of taking young people into the forces, training them to the highest standard, and then not understanding that there's a role to detrain them and to put them back into civilian life.
Because one of the problems as well is, unfortunately here in Averley we know of one fallen soldier, Nicky Mason, but I as a journalist who covers the borough every single day, have no idea how many soldiers or veterans or serving soldiers are actually in Thurrock right now, and how many actually are in need of help. What other help is available, or even support mechanisms?
I think the biggest problem, and again when I first started looking at the problem in London, there is help available. I mean, that's undeniable, but the help it's often quite hard to find. Now, if you can imagine, lots of ex-forces are very proud. You will have people in Averley, they will go back a couple of generations. You will have people from certainly the Second World War. You will have Falklands veterans, Gulf War veterans, and they may have problems with drink, they may have problems with drugs, unemployment. Now, the army and the forces aren't actively seeking them out, and it's a minefield. You've got SAFA, you've got lots of regimental associations providing help, but you need to tie the services up together. Now, what I found in London is I could sit in my nice warm office, pick up the phone round, and try and address the needs of the ex-forces homeless people I came across. But it would maybe take me 2 days of constant phoning to get someone engaged with the homeless services. Now that's just not good enough, not just for forces, but for anyone that's homeless and suffering on the streets of London, and I dare say here in Essex and in Aveley.
It is very pertinent here, Tom, in Aveley that we're speaking to you about the armed services, in that at the end of your street in September was the funeral of Nicky Mason. Did you know Nicky Mason?
No, I didn't know Nicky, but what really just reinforced for me is that Nicky, his memorial service really just brought together lots of people from Aveley, and it brought together a community. Now it got me thinking at the time, Nicky, he was serving with the parachute regiment. How many other young men would go from Aveley and Essex to serve this country, and how much do we really know about them? Now, as I say, I was greatly moved by the services for Nicky, and it sort of reminded me that people like me, cut that actually, it sort of reminded me that there needs to be more done for the young men coming back from places like Afghanistan, like the Gulf, who are coming back with injuries, who are coming back to a public who possibly don't understand what they have been through. Soldiers go out to war because that's what they're trained to do. Politicians send the soldiers, and soldiers go out to serve, to do their duty, to do it to the best of their ability, and if they're injured in the process, then they need, one, the public to be supportive of what they're doing, and two, and most definitely to be the case for government to support people who come back to the UK. They may have housing needs, they may have medical needs, they may have addiction needs that need addressing through the National Health Service. And what I would like to see is a much higher profile campaign that has been started by an organisation called Help for Heroes, and I would like to see more and more support at the highest political level, government level, and as high as the royal family, to support those people coming back from conflicts that are not the making of soldiers, but soldiers